My name is Rob Wilkinson, and I'm from Janesville. And everybody's covered a lot of material, and unfortunately, these are things that we need to address. One of the things that hasn't been mentioned so far is the regionalization of ADRCs. That's Aged and Disability Resource Centers. These are service centers that provide information and assistance to people in need throughout the area. I volunteered at United Way's First Call for 9 years, and I like to refer to what happened to United Way's First Call when they changed that from a program here in Rock County to combine it with Dane County. And at that time, Dane County was serving 7 counties. We had 2,500 programs in our computer that we gave people in Rock County information on, programs of all forms of assistance that they might have interest in. At that time, Dane County only had 1,400. They really didn't add any of our programs to their computer. They also said that when they became responsible for Rock County, they would have somebody attend various agency meetings here in Rock County so that they could keep track as to what was needed by our citizens and keep that information as to what was available to them through these agencies. They attended 3 monthly meetings, and then there was no one here for at least 2 years. So information was not getting back to them. The agencies in a whole range of organizations here in Rock County started getting a few referrals, and unfortunately a lot of the cases, the information the people were being given by Dane County did not apply to people here in Rock County. It was wrong information, and it was not updated and not kept correct. And so it's really important that the ADRC here in Rock County be kept here in Rock County. The staff here does attend meetings to make sure they know what's needed. The agencies in the area know what programs are available to the people in the area. And we also have direct communications with the staff. People who need assistance can simply go into the office, they can call, they can go out emails. They have access to them, and it's really important to do that. One of the other issues that we need to address is transportation, transit in particular. The funding for transit is inadequate. And I don't care what programs we have available here in Rock County or elsewhere, if there's not funding available for transportation, a large percentage of people cannot access those services. We need more money for transit. And then in regards to family care, why don't we have it? Why does most of the state of Wisconsin have it and Rock County does not? It needs to be made available to the citizens in Rock County. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Georgia Fraser from Edgerton, Rick Bursett from Fontana.
I'm Georgia Fraser from Edgerton. I think you can tell from this budget that you cannot run a state unless you have some money and you spend it in the right places. You can't have good education. You can't have beautiful parks. You can't have adequate transportation facilities for people that don't want to drive anymore. I suggest that taxes need to be raised for those who are in big business and quit letting them get away with this. This isn't called having big government, it's called having adequate government. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia.
Good evening, I'm Rick Bursch from Fontana, and I'm here to talk about a program that the Wisconsin State Legislature created which really works. It's called the IRIS program. It was mentioned earlier, and IRIS stands for Include, Respect, and I Self-Direct, and it is for adults needing long-term care. It has some very basic tenets. It says, number one, it wants to improve the overall quality of care available to each and every individual. Number two, it wants to reduce overall costs, ensure that the greatest amount of funding possible goes to meet the needs of the individual rather than to administration or profit. Number three, it transfers control of the administration of funding to the individual in need. thus allowing them to choose which services best fit their needs. And finally, it provides the least restrictive environment possible as mandated by the Wisconsin legislature. And that's in accordance with the ADA. The small problem, this budget eliminates that. This is a program that works. This is a program that costs less and gives more. Now, I'm not going to go through numbers and everything else because there's been a lot of that, and we're probably all getting fuzzy-eyed with that. I'm going to tell you one story of the 12,000 people that this program impacts. And that's our son Nick. Nick spent 17 years in group homes, in institutional settings. He is a severely autistic adult male. A year ago, we became aware of the IRIS program, and we brought Nick home. And now I'll tell you the tale of two systems. The system that he was in previously, he had one outside program that he went to each week. That was 1 hour of art in Whitewater. And that was when the house that he was in could get him the 3 miles there. My wife decided that she would drive the 60 miles round trip to make certain that he did that. Since he's been back, and since we've taken over helping him administer his care, he continues to do the artwork. He also is involved with the Wisconsin Independent Learning College, which is a wonderful new idea for for adults on the autism spectrum. He does that 3 days a week. He is involved in SMILES, if you're familiar with it. That's Special Methods in Learning Equestrian Skills, rides horses. And he is involved in facilitated communication and RPM, which are both, for the first time in 27 years, we are communicating with him. Our fear, our concern, is that without this program, we will be back where we were a year ago, and we will lose that. And the problem is, this is a program that does what we want it to do. It saves money for the state, and it gets the programs to the people most in need.
Keeps them safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Representatives, Senator, thank you. My name is Marjorie Stoneman. I'm a resident of Whitewater, and I am a mom, an active member of the community, and a taxpayer. I'm here on behalf of Whitewater Yes for Education and the many, many people in Whitewater in the school district to ask you to please vote no on the state budget that will gut public schools. It will require the Whitewater School District to cut an extra $290,000 from its already lean budget. When the referendum passed for the schools last fall, it was based on conservative estimates necessary to meet the minimum requirements for funding our local schools. The proposed state budget would double the level of cuts to our district next year. That's just in Whitewater, double. Instead of the $300,000 that was estimated, it will now be nearly $600,000. This is the opposite of what the Whitewater community supported with the referendum that passed with a 65% margin last fall. Please, don't take any more funds away from our schools. Don't support this budget. Let's invest in our public schools and our colleges to continue to help strengthen our kids and our community. This needs to happen in Whitewater and in every community in Wisconsin. Education is a nonpartisan issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Pat Scott from Beloit, Judith Prairie from Beloit, and Jennifer Thompson from Janesville.
Pat Scott from Beloit. I just want to say I was really very unpleasantly surprised when I looked at the paper a few days ago and Walker's proposed budget cuts to disability plans. I have no problem with trying to increase services and be more efficient with services and costs. But one of the things the article cited was the fact that there's this group that that doesn't, that works with disability people, disability rights, knew nothing about these cuts. And if the legislature and the governor are looking at revamping this whole program without even talking to the ones that are involved in it and providing services, how on earth do they think they are going to be of any aid to people? It looks like just another way of cutting budget. If you talk to the people that actually work with it, you might find, yes, there are some duplications, there are ways of trimming things back and still providing services, of being more efficient with services. But just across the board cutting it without doing that is just wrong. Also, it was mentioned the fact that if these services end up going to for-profit companies, one of the things about that is they are more medically focused things quite often. What you lose then is the custodial care, which is basic bathing, housekeeping, laundry, meal preparation, basic things of living a daily life. Without those things, the quality of life greatly decreases. You are ending up with an increase of medical bills because these basic things are not being helped and not being maintained. And like the gentleman here said, with ISIS, their results, their experience has been very positive. My brother was developmentally disabled, mild cerebral palsy. He was not with ISIS, but he was part of the...
I think you mean to say Iris.
Iris. Sorry. Woo. He wasn't with ISIS either. Yeah. Sorry about that. But he did receive services from the state. He was on Medicare disability all of his life. But without some of those state services, his quality of life would have been very poor. He would not have been necessarily able to get into Can-Do and to have the transportation back and forth because I was working. Quality of life is important, and that really needs to be taken into account as well as just cutting money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Judith Prairie. I'm here with my husband, Richard Prairie, and we are actually constituents of Amy. Haven't ever had a chance to talk to her directly, so I'm glad for that opportunity tonight. We're here as recipients of senior care, so I could tell you firsthand, it works and it works well. And if you're going to change that and make that more expensive, we're going to be in trouble. When we retired, we did all the things that everybody said we're supposed to do. We saved this little pot of money, and we actually sold our house, moved into a condo. We sat down and we did budgets, and unfortunately, we didn't think that these things were going to be changing like this. So to come up with that extra money would be extremely hard. And they talk about this average Social Security benefit that everybody gets. Neither one of us, neither my husband nor I, get that average. We're kind of below that. We did save some money. We took a hit in the stock market in '08. So we have to watch every dollar that's in that little pot of money. And if we have to start pulling extra dollars out of that pot of money to start paying for plain old drugs, we're going to get closer and closer to a panic button push because you only have limited dollars in that little pot of money, no way to grow it. You all know what the interest rates are, and they don't look like they're going to get any better. I don't think I could go out and get a job. Even my kids are having a hard time doing that. So what are we supposed to do? like I say, when we first retired, we tried to slim down everything. We were already past substituting hamburger for steak. We're to the point of maybe we better do without. So I'm really, really asking all of your help. Please do not mess up this program. It's a one of a kind. It's been around long enough to prove that it really works. It basically supports itself. It requires very little help from the state. We just need everybody to take a look at it and say, this is one of the better programs. Thank you for your opportunity.
Thank you.
Hi. Don't count this as part of my time, but I'm really happy to hear that people are talking about issues that are important to people with disabilities and elderly. Now you can start. Good evening, and thank you for providing this opportunity to allow all of us to speak about the issues that we're passionate about tonight. My name is Jennifer Thompson, and I'm honored to say that I'm the manager of the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Rock County, and I also oversee our long-term support programs in Rock County. I'm here tonight to give you my view of the section of the proposed budget, or really policy change, that if passed will negatively affect our lives here in Rock County and the care for our elderly and disabled adults. I'm not here to talk about family care because we don't currently have that, but I can talk about that with you at another time. I'm talking about a very small section, as Rob mentioned, in the current budget proposal, which allows the Department of Health Services to contract with a private entity for some or all of the services that we're currently providing in our resource center. In addition, it eliminates the county's right of first refusal to operate the local ADRC and eliminates our advisory committees and our governing boards. Those of us who spend our days in the ADRC meeting with families, talking with our customers, assisting people through very difficult, complex situations, and helping them understand all of their options know firsthand and without a doubt that contracting with a private entity will ultimately hurt our community. Taking our right away of first refusal is an unfair policy change, as all of our ADRCs have a vested interest in helping their community. No county wants to give up that right. And lastly, I'm eliminating our governing boards, the voice of our community, the oversight committee, the individuals who monitor our work and make sure we're doing what we say we're doing, can and will hurt the quality of service for our residents. The state of Wisconsin and local counties have spent years creating and implementing the perfect model of what ADRC should be doing: a warm and friendly, unbiased atmosphere, a one-stop shop. We have that right now. Individuals with disabilities, elderly, their caregivers, and family are able to go to our resource center assuredly, knowing that when they come to the ADRC, they aren't going to have to go to 5 other places to find their needs met. That the information they're sharing with our staff are going to be kept held private and in confidence. That the information that the ADRC staff are providing them is of no financial gain to us, but rather honest, resourceful, supportive information. And our staff don't stop there. They'll work with you to the very end until your need is met. So I share with you tonight one story that we've seen in our ADRC. There's no way I can get done that quick. Hang on one second. It's about Martha, and I've changed her name. She's a 78-year-old woman. Martha had a devastating and massive stroke 14 years ago. The stroke left Martha nonverbal and with many physical limitations, including paralysis. During these 14 years since the stroke, her loving and supportive husband cared for her. However, as we know, caregivers oftentimes become ill themselves due to the amount of stress and care they provide their loved ones and neglect of themselves. Martha's daughters were very worried for their parents. Martha, with the effects of the stroke, and now their father, who'd been hospitalized. Knowing that Dad was not in the best of health and Mom still needed a lot of assistance, they called our ADRC and spoke to Emily, an information assistance specialist. Emily listened and talked through all of the issues and determined that a visit would be made with Mom, Dad, and the daughters. It was scheduled immediately. While at the home visit at the couple's apartment, Emily witnessed the stress that family had and listened to their concerns and fears. Once Dad had gotten ill, it became clear they needed additional support from Mom. The daughters didn't know who to call for help or where to go. Some basic eligibility was determined, and Emily could begin talking about all of their options available. She discussed the resources available and how she could help them through this process, reminding them that her time with them was free. In the next couple weeks, Emily completed the necessary paperwork and moved forward with the application for assistance. In addition, Emily connected them to a local resource in Beloit to help the family with caregivers and assist their father. Unfortunately, Martha's husband took a turn for the worse and died within just a couple weeks of that. Her daughters came to the ADRC again looking for Emily, literally crying. I saw it. Scared, worried, stressed, and unsure what to do next. Emily met with the daughters immediately to help them calm their fears and concerns. Their daughters began working on a new plan to help them. Initially, the daughters thought they would need to put Mom in a nursing home. But Emily said no. There could be a lot more done before coming to that result. And the daughters talked through their options. I'm almost done. I remember that day as Emily and the two daughters walked by my office. I saw the daughters embrace Emily with a look of relief, very, very different than what they looked like when they walked in. And I could see the relief and the fear escape their faces, and they just poured with thank yous to Emily, because we have this service here. In conclusion, we at the ADRC have multiple stories like Martha. We may even find ourselves in situations like her daughters. If we were ever in that crisis mode, would we want one place to go like we do now for help? Or do we want to have to navigate through multiple systems? Would we want local government oversight to advocate for our community and our needs? Or do we want private board looking to make a dollar? Would we want someone to help us who has been trained on the warm and friendly customer service like Emily? Or do you want just anyone talking to us about your personal issues? Do we want to get an unbiased information on local agencies that we already know and potentially directed to the agency that just wants to make a good marketing thing? Would we want the person we talk to say, oh yeah, she needs a nursing home? Or do we want someone like Emily to say, no, there's lots of options available? I bring this to your attention tonight because this is what we do every single day at the ADRC of Rock County. And the proposed budget is risking all of that by allowing for privatization. Please look at those changes and put yourself in Martha's daughter's shoes. And in doing so, I think you'll put your community's needs first.
Thank you, Jennifer, but I am going to ask people to try to hold it 3 minutes because we would like to be done by about 8:15, so if you would please do that, I would appreciate it. Next, we have Connie Weeks from Milton, Craig Fisher from Janesville, and Aaron Ossen from Janesville. Thank you, Connie, appreciate it. Craig?
Go ahead. I'm Craig Fisher. I'm from Janesville. As an educator and an outdoorsman, I'm a little torn about what I want to talk about, so I'm going to kind of meld the two and talk about environmental education. The proposed budget repeals or eliminates the Wisconsin Center for Environmental Education at UW Stevens Point. The current $200,000 in state general funding results in an additional $1 million in private and public funding, 18 positions in forestry education, energy education, green and healthy schools, nature center collaborative, and other environmental education programs annually. The Wisconsin Center for Environmental Education programs train 100,000 students annually, introducing them to natural resources careers, science careers, paths such as forestry, energy, agriculture, and green business. WCEE trains approximately 1,500 public and private teachers annually. I am one of them. I'm in 2 courses and I have homework tonight, so I'll speed things up. The proposed budget also eliminates the Wisconsin Environmental Education Board. This also eliminates funding for general grants from July 1st, or starting July 1st, 2015, and school forest and forestry education grants July 1st, 2016. Over the last 10-year period, WEB has awarded nearly $4.5 million in grants to schools, nonprofits, tribal governments, municipalities, and agencies across Wisconsin. Janesville itself has benefited from 2 WEEB grants, and I've just applied for a third. WEEB has awarded grants to 1,945 Wisconsin organizations. So, what are we asking? We're asking that we restore state statutes creating Wisconsin Environmental Education Board and the Wisconsin Center of Environmental Education, restore funding for these grant programs, and then along with it, restore funding for the Wisconsin Environmental Education DPI coordinator position, and some of the natural resource educator positions that were mentioned earlier to be restored. Wisconsin has a very rich conservation and environmental history, and I'd hate to see that be cast aside. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Loudenbeck, for this time. Certainly do appreciate it, and I do sympathize with the hefty task that you have ahead of you. My name is Aaron Austin. I'm a vice president of a small business here in Janesville, Del Marais Concrete Products. I'm a third generation precaster, as they say. My grandfather laid his first brick in 1957, and we've been here ever since. I'd like to keep it that way. That being said, one of our largest products that we make is precast concrete septic tanks. We've been doing this ever since our start in '57. Under Governor Walker's budget, he is proposing transferring all regulatory commissions from the DSPS over to the DNR. Since this has been proposed, as the acting president of an organization called Wisconsin On-Site Water Recycling Association, my phone has been ringing off the hook of my members telling me that this is not a good thing. This was recently proposed back in the early 90s and greatly hurt a lot of the small businesses that are 2 to 3 man operations that make a living putting septic tanks in the ground and installing them. These are the members that I represent. Representative Loudenbeck, you had the opportunity to visit our organization this summer as we installed a septic system fully funded to a family in need that could not afford this. Moving this program over to the DNR, we face a lot more stringent regulations and a lot of necessary regulations that are not needed. The DSPS has formulated a wonderful program that uses WALRA as a main resource, is trying to develop the codes that are needed to install these systems and keep them properly regulated. The second thing that I want to talk about is the deletion of the Wisconsin fund. It's a $2 million fund that is available for those who cannot afford proper replacement of septic systems that are failed. For as many years as this program has been in the budget, it has been exhausted, as well as there's been more funds needed. This is a very important program for the state of Wisconsin, not only for groundwater resources and keeping our groundwater clean, which is I think our most important resource out there. But it also helps keep those families that are in those farm homes and those homes that their fathers and their grandfathers built and their great-grandfathers built, because those are the ones that have failing septic systems, and those are the ones that can't be refurbished at this time. So we need to keep that funding in the budget. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Aaron. Next, we'll have Butch Beetle from Evansville, Juanita Flater from Broadhead, and Tom Bryan from Janesville.
Thank you. I'm Butch Beetle from Evansville. I'm a retired teacher, and I would like to talk about the dismantling of the environmental education in the Wisconsin. The authorization of the Wisconsin Center for Environmental Education is being put into this budget. The elimination of the DPI environmental education consultant position, and also eliminating the Wisconsin Environmental Education Board. The Wisconsin Center would lose its authorization, not its budget money, but knowing what the word environment and conservation mean right now, you can see what the long-term impacts of that probably are. The environmental consulting position costs nothing in the budget. That money is coming from a different source, a trust fund. The Wisconsin Environmental Education Board grant money doesn't come from taxpayer money either. That comes from other sources. And this has had a pretty large impact on our district and many other districts. As just been previously said, 100,000 students a year are impacted by these programs, thousands of teachers. Right now, we're going through a process where kids are staying indoors and they're not outside, they're not doing some of the things we talk about that are healthy for them. Right now, the average kid is about 30 minutes a day or less. 30 years ago, it was 3 times that. And this budget, with getting rid of some of this environmental things, getting kids outdoors, would even reduce and accelerate some of that. We even had a parent that was arrested because they had their kids walk a mile home from a park recently. I mean, this is the kind of things we don't want to perpetuate. Even like in the dictionary, the words acorn, beaver, dandelion have been removed from the dictionary for the Oxford Junior Dictionary. So getting kids outdoors more, not doing less, would be important. The research says that kids that get involved in these programs do better in social studies, science, math, language arts. They have more enthusiasm for school. They're better problem solvers, critical thinkers. Discipline is down. There was a school in Florida that increased, they went to an environmental ed program. Their discipline went down from 560 disciplines in a year down to 50. This has got profound impacts if we can get the kids doing more of these things, not taking it away. It relieves symptoms of ADD, it increases attention, reduces stress, increases health. 30 seconds. Can I pull some of that stuff? The Weeb grant in Evansville has done tremendous things. We have a Earth Day Energy Fair that we have between 1,500 and 2,000 people show up for 4 hours to see the kids' projects. We bring people in to talk. That has changed not only what the kids do, but I've had parents do environmental projects with their home. I've had kids go into careers. The money has been used over and over and over again in our community, just from these one grants, getting kids thinking about other opportunities, including my son, who went into an environmental engineering degree. Evansville is just a microcosm of all the programs across the state and how it affects thousands of people. It doesn't cost much money from what we're talking about. It's the budget part is hundreds of thousands of dollars that are being cut out, but the impact would be great, and getting rid of it would be it'd be foolish, and the impacts would affect the heritage that Wisconsin is very proud of.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to us tonight and giving us the opportunity to speak. Almost 5 years ago, I was introduced to the prison system when I, for the first time in my life, stepped into a prison to visit the son of a friend in my church. Since that time, his son and I have become good friends, and I have learned a lot about the system as I have learned about more prisoners' situations. My friend is an old law lifer. He first entered prison at the age of 19 and has spent almost 35 years serving his time. He has taken all the treatment programs and even more to improve his productiveness. He has indeed changed his behaviors and attitudes from when he was 19. He has worked many jobs in the system and has had many good work evaluations. He went 16 years without a conduct report, and the one he has most recently received was from false accusations by other inmates. His case is still before the court, and we have every hope that the conduct report will be dropped from his record. I have seen him and learned of other prisoners that are being treated unfairly and being held back by those with authority to allow them to be out on parole and be an active and vital part of our communities. One point I would like to bring is the factor of how the old law prisoners are being held much longer than the judge intended. Before the truth in sentencing, a lifer was serving between 16 to 20 years before being paroled. Many lifers are now seeing many more years being added to their sentence. Now many are seeing the years stretched into 30 to 40 years in. I don't believe this accomplishes anything except to spend $53,000 per year on each prisoner being held back. There are more than 2,500 parole-eligible men and women in the state prisons. At $50,000 per year, if even 40% of them were released, it would save $50 million. Along with that, they are not being able to have a job on the outside, which will add taxes paid into the budget. These two factors could add to budget needs for drug treatment, sexual treatment, mental health care treatment plans, etc. Also, the longer a prisoner is held in the more, his family and friend support system deteriorates or is lost. The families of the prisoners become victims from the loss of emotional, mental, physical, and financial support that prisoners could be giving to their family and community. The old law prisoners are just one issue of the corrective system that needs to be reformed. Many are being incarcerated beyond reason, and this affects the greatest asset of our state, our families. Lives of the next generation are being affected in a gigantic way by the way we are not dealing with the real issues that are before us. When will we start to help people with their problems rather than throwing them in prison to create more problems? Thank you.
This time, workers who were injured or got sick on the job had insurance coverage that would help them get through the time of convalescence before returning to work. More than 100 years later, Wisconsin's system is still considered a model for the rest of the nation. It's paid for by the insurance carriers and imposes virtually no cost on taxpayers. Wisconsin's system gets workers back on the job faster and cheaper than most other states. It's administered in an efficient manner. Workers' comp in Wisconsin is good government in action. We should not mess with success. Unfortunately, Wisconsin lawmakers are considering a state budget provision that would dismantle the current law and turn workers' comp into a political hot potato. Instead of one agency, the Department of Workforce Development, managing the system in a fair, consistent, and efficient manner, it would be split between the Office of the Commissioner of Insurance and the Department of Administration. The system stability, which keeps costs down for everyone, would be put at risk. Worse yet, without current economic protections still in place, taxpayers could find themselves picking up the bill for any additional work-related injuries or illnesses. Here's the rub. The system works so well that it's unlikely the changes would save any money, and in truth will probably cost more. Workers' comp is a rare example of government working so well it's paid for itself. Consider that about 80% of the workers would end up in the Wisconsin system managed to receive their compensation without needing to appear at a hearing or consult a lawyer. Compare the results to those seen in Illinois, where claimants turn to formal litigation procedures in nearly 2 out of 3 cases. By spreading a well-functioning system across 2 agencies, lawmakers will be setting to the stage for less consistent rulings and a greater need for claimants to turn to a lawyer for help with an appeal. Don't tear down the gold standard of good government just for the sake of moving a few deck chairs around. Republicans and Democrats have worked together on our workers' comp system for more than a century. Labor and management now hammer out their differences over the system by sitting down at a bargaining table. Taxpayers save money and the system works, largely without lawyers. You want lean government? This is lean government. Government Scott Walker wants to create what he calls the Office of Lean Government. I can't imagine a better way to start than by maintaining our workers' comp system, a model of fairness, cost effectiveness, and political bipartisanship. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Next, we have Caitlin Beester from Janesville, Mary Bulow from Janesville, and Elaine Strasberg from Janesville.